and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick, with the City of Hampton's Communications and Marketing Department. And today we're going to talk about one of the city's festivals and with a historical bent. It's the Hunt for Hampton History. I have two guests today, Seamus McGrann, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
And Mike Cobb.
Good to be here.
And you guys are both from the History Museum, and you're going to talk about this event from a couple perspectives. But Seamus, let you start and tell us the details about when, where, and really what it is.
Well, this is the 7th hunt that the museum has done, and this year it is different. We're having it over 2 days, May 4th and 5th. So on Saturday the 4th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. there'll be music, reenactors, puppet shows, all sorts of things going on, as well as free admission to the museum, so you can tour the...
Free!
Yeah, free. So bring your friends.
That's great. For people with little kids or people who can't always afford to pay admission to things.
Well, this is really a great event for families. So on Saturday and Sunday it's going to be from noon to 4, but we'll have rainbow puppets both days. We're very fortunate that both the Tradoc Woodwinds Band is going to be performing for us, as well as the U.S. Naval Forces Brass Quintet. And that's really impressive for us to have 2 military bands at a time when they're really having
They've scaled back so much.
They have.
Right.
They've had to really scale back because of budget issues, but felt that this event was major and fit in so well, not only with the celebration of Fort Monroe that's taking place throughout the weekend at the hunt, but also because it's our 10th anniversary. And so they really wanted
of the museum.
It is the 10th anniversary of the museum, and so they thought that was a significant achievement and wanted to honor us with their presence. But we're also working very closely, getting some great partnerships going with the city's community centers. And I haven't been here that long, but in that short amount of time, I've met some tremendous people working within the community centers. And Marie St. Clair is...
She's wonderful.
She is. She's great. And she's tapped into some amazing talent here in the city. And so we're going to have Cabana Black.
I love him.
He is
He's
so
been
great.
Here.
Yeah, well, he's going to be performing for us. We're also going to have some of her actors and actresses doing dramatic vignettes from the life of Mary and Thomas Peake.
Oh, wonderful.
Right. And there's going to be throughout the weekend, we're also having some of their young spoken word and poet artists. So it's going to be a great time to not just celebrate our city's past, but also its future, and that the kids that she's tapped into are really making history today and are leaving a legacy for us to look at what our current period was like, years down the road.
Okay, and this event, I mean, for people who were involved in it the first couple of years, it used to be at the convention center, and it was really a sort of empty your attic and your scrapbooks and bring us things for the history collection to share. And now it's more, that's still an important part. You still want people to bring you mementos.
Oh, we definitely do, because they're, in fact, with the hunt, we're going to be launching a couple of new projects. One of them is the Legacy Project, and that is really sort of the culmination of some of the things that have happened as the hunt's been progressing over the years. And this is where people have been doing their own history. For instance, the Garden City Project, the With Neighborhood Association. Also, we're working with the Clean Cities program. And so this shows how communities within our community have collected, preserved, recorded, and presented their own past. And that's what we really want people to do. So while they're going to continue bringing stuff into us at the hunt, photographs to scan, documents to scan.
So if you don't want to let go of that important possession, that memory from your parents or your grandparents, you guys will scan it right there and give it back.
And so another project that we're launching this year is, people have been having us scan their images, and they'll finally be able to see them on our new website, which is launching that weekend as well. So you can see selections of our collections, the Cheney collection, I know that you're familiar with, as well as the community collection that has been brought in over the hunt for some years. And what's interesting and great about that is there's going to be a marvelous article appearing in the Daily Press by Mark St. John Erickson soon, where he's looking at the items that have been brought in over the years to the hunt. And in particular, what caught his attention was the restaurant that the family of Kathy Dermanis, who's really involved in the historic Buckrow Improvement League, but it looks at the restaurant that her family had in Buckrow, which had one of the very first pizza ovens, if not the first pizza oven in the area. And after the war, GIs would line up around the block to get some pizza from her family, because it wasn't as ubiquitous it is today, where you can just on your computer and have a pizza to your order in 30 minutes. So it's almost like things are coming full circle. People will see how what they've brought in and the roots that were planted at the early days of the hunt are now coming to fruition now. So it's really exciting for us. It's good, and it's good for people to remember that the history of Hampton Hampton is so old. You got 400 years of English history recorded, and time before that, and you think, gee whiz, my memories from the 50s or 60s isn't really history, but it is, and you're capturing some of those oral histories as well. It's important too, especially when we think of things so ephemeral these days. I mean, a post is gone in a couple minutes, at least in your mind. Well, in fact, I had a lady call me yesterday, and she says, "Well, I've only lived in Hampton, since the end of World War II." Only? Yeah, I know. It was really sweet, and so. But she was talking to me about how she moved here from up north, and even switched churches, and just how different it was for her. And I said, "Well, that's the story right there." Right. So many people came post-war, settled here. It is. I mean, my family was brand new to the area. I'm really the first generation that's lived here, so it's I don't think of necessarily my history or my life as being the history either, and that's what we want people to realize, is that you have a story to tell, and the Hampton History Museum is about telling stories of every era, and we want to tell your story. So please come and bring your items. And then what we also are doing, which is extremely important, is recognizing the history and significance of Fort Monroe. Well, now let's talk about that a little bit, Mike. You sort of pick an aspect of Hampton's history to focus on every year, again, because it is so broad. I think it was work and employment, or some of the businesses. We had World War II, and we had education, and this year we're going to focus, as Seamus says, on Fort Monroe. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One, certainly it's in the news. We all know it's now a national monument. The National Park Service is there. And it's majestic stone fortifications sitting at the entrance to Hampton Roads Harbor and on the Chesapeake Bay, with this array of history, which is unparalleled anywhere in America. And we're going to focus on this great historic site, Fort Monroe, at this Hunt for Hampton History. So what are a couple, I know we could talk all day about stories from Fort Monroe, but a couple of the more interesting, maybe personal stories that you're familiar with from Fort Monroe? Well, as we just said, the history is stories. If you get right down to it, it's stories of people and the people who make the events happen and such. And that is really the essence of history. It's us. It's really about us. And we're going to be looking at Benjamin F. Butler, who commanded Fort Monroe and made the contraband decision. There's a wonderful exhibit we're going to have upstairs, the American Turning Point from the Virginia Historical Society, and it focuses on the home front. And one of the great parts of this exhibit is the contraband decision, and Butler's part in it and Fort Monroe's part in it. Also, I think if you come, you might see Lieutenant John Griebel there. And he was killed at the Battle of Big Bethel. And if you're very lucky, you may catch sight of him. You may actually be able to speak to him. I think he's going to be there wandering around the museum. Now, that's a name I'm less familiar with. Tell me a little bit about First West Point graduate killed in the American Civil War at the first planned battle of the Civil War, the Battle of Big Bethel, June 10, 1861. And Fort Monroe was the headquarters for the troops, the Union troops, that marched out to fight the Confederates near Big Bethel Church on that eventful day. So that story is going to unfold.
Also, we're going to be looking at the contraband story, of course, and we're also going to jump beyond the Civil War into the Second World War, and we're going to have World War II reenactors there looking and talking that period. So you'll be able to interact from the Civil War all the way through World War II and looking at Fort Monroe as the catalyst for all of this. So it's going to be a day, an eventful day at the Hunt for Hampton History.
That sounds wonderful. I look forward to it. All right, anything you guys want to leave us with before we close?
Well, just tying in with Fort Monroe is we really want to collect stories, you know, not just of the people who served there, you know, and their experiences, but the families. And we'd really love to hear some stories about couples that maybe, you know, met out there, you know, both serving.
So USO, I'm sure there was a lot going on. It is one of those things that is so personal. Like I know there are connections people feel to wherever they've served in the military. It's an important time, it's a part of their lives. But Fort Monroe, I mean, I've heard so many tales of, you know, kids growing up and how wonderful it was that they could wander over to the movie theater and have all this freedom because their parents knew the MPs were there, and it was, you know, it was such a community.
People who served there, lived there, always had that memory. It's because of this majestic site, this wonderful, it's almost like a college campus with a Chamberlain Hotel and all these wonderful buildings and the waterways and the stone fort. It was a place of romance. It was a place of coming of age. It was a special place. It was a special place when it was built back in 1819 through the centuries, and today it's still Hampton's special place, Old Point Comfort, Fort Monroe.
It is, and look at all those couples that were married at Chapel of the Centurion. I mean, you know, there's got to be some great stories in there.
And we're going to have lots of those groups represented at the Hunt, so it's going to conjure up a lot of memories. So I think it's going to be a rich oral history collecting weekend.
Come and share your documents and your artifacts at the Hunt for Hampton History.
Okay, May 4th and 5th.
May 4th and 5th. And you find more information on our website as well as Facebook. So please like us on Facebook.
All right, will do. And thank you both for coming. I hope to see you on May 4th and 5th, and I hope to see you there as well. Thank you.